With this session update, I'm Shannon Lurkey. During today's Senate floor session, members debated a bill that would allow the redirection of local government aid, or LGA, funds to cover expenses incurred from emergency responses. The measure is the Republican-led Senate's response to the governor's request for an emergency fund to pay for possible civil unrest next month surrounding the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged in the death of George Floyd. Here are some highlights from the debate.
This bill was drafted in response to the concerns of the governor that had been expressed to leadership well over a month ago. At that point in time, communities were reluctant to re-enter into their mutual aid agreements with the city of Minneapolis with over concerns about being paid. And as a result of that, we then have taken the liberty of putting together this bill that very simply takes money that a community who receives local government aid, if they do not pay the money that is owed to those communities that have provided mutual aid, upon proper certification by the communities to whom the money is owed, the state then can withhold money from the local government aid and compensate those communities. This was done as a result, as I mentioned, of the concern for communities that they would not be paid. And it was also done in light of the fact that there had been in excess of a 10% reduction made in the police budget for the city of Minneapolis. I recognize that there are those who disagree with this, but let's remember the basic reason for local government aid. It is to ensure that cities can meet their most basic responsibilities in terms of the services that they provide to their constituents. First and foremost, safety. I do want to mention that there is no proposed change to local government aid. Every community would get the same amount of local government aid that they are projected to get under the current formula, and that this situation would only arise in those instances when communities do not compensate those who provide mutual aid to them. This does not go back on past costs, but rather this proceeds from the future in all future situations.
I read the letters that came from the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, the League of Minnesota Cities, the Association of Counties, imploring us not to do this. Not to do this, Senator Weber. That's what they are telling us. Please don't do that. So I wonder what kind of legislation is this? I hope I become a chair so that I can put a bill about LGA and really keep my money, because my city is the economic engine of this state. It just so happened that I have a growing population in my district. People want to come and live in Minneapolis. We have a tax base that supports rural Minnesota because your communities are declining. You do not have a tax base as big as mine. You do not have the population that is required for the population and the works and the jobs of the future. I do. I am committed to work for the entire state of Minnesota. The Twin Cities are the economic engine of the state of Minnesota.
This is setting a precedent for events yet to come, for cities that have not yet experienced disasters. And I'm very concerned about that it is setting a dangerous precedent. I represent a community up in the Red River Valley which experiences flooding quite often, devastating floods that have devastated our area, and we've needed help at times when that has happened. And local government aid, I don't think that is the vehicle through which we should be addressing this particular issue, because it is so critically important to those communities in our area. And it seems to me like it's kicking people when they're down. If you have a community that's experiencing a major flood, and then on top of the flood and the major damage that's been done and the cleanup work that's being done, now they're hit with cuts to their local government aid or their county program aid as well.
This is a disappointing, divisive, and dangerous bill. This is an all-out attack on local government aid and county program aid, which I will remind are direct property tax relief to Minnesotans. Cities and counties do their budget, start their budget cycle in January. It's not like how we do ours here. And the communities who receive local government aid, Mr. President, they will have their budgets disrupted if their local government aid could be garnished by a neighboring community at any point.
Are we here to come up with a plan to best uphold peace, safety, and the well-being of our residents, or are we doing a highly political dance? So, Mr. President, while we are debating the most appropriate way to ensure funding for law enforcement, we are ignoring the facts of what happened last year. It is as if we have amnesia. The pretense of this legislation is that Minneapolis is irresponsibly diverting funds from its police department, the force is short-staffed, and we need to force Minneapolis to take its obligations towards public safety more serious. But there's a major problem with that story, Mr. President. The problem with these dynamics that we are seeing is that one being Minneapolis police officers leaving the force, and the other being activists and policymakers discussing a new vision for public safety that doesn't solely rely on police. These are a result of a broken system of public safety.
Let's remind ourselves that local government aid is not to have the state be the full and direct source of public safety for our communities, but it is to supplement and help the communities that don't have the tax base to pay for some of these essential services like public safety. We're here today because Minneapolis, who is the biggest recipient or one of the biggest recipients of local government aid, has many well-intended neighbors that have provided safety in the past when they're needed in Minneapolis to stop the riots, the damage to buildings and injury to people and lives. Those bills are still outstanding. And members, we're here, and Senator Torres Ray, you asked, what do you tell your constituents? We need to tell them the truth. They have an opportunity to speak to their local leaders to change the trajectory they're on of not defunding the police and then expecting all the neighbors to come in and back them up when they need law enforcement or public safety. Now, the state will be there with National Guard and state troopers if needed, but it's not a proper step to defund your police, get rid of your law enforcement or minimize it, and then expect the state to continue bailing you out.
Sometimes communities do things because they are in some ways closer to the public than we are, and they are dealing with a lot of day-to-day issues, and so they make decisions based on what they are hearing from their communities. And I just want to clarify for the record that the City of Minneapolis, the City Council did vote to add approximately $6.4 million, or use $6.4 million to hire 2 additional recruit classes to backfill the police officers. Minneapolis had about 888 FTEs a year ago. We still have 888 FTEs for law enforcement. We have had retirements, like communities across the state. Minneapolis' budget was impacted by COVID, and so the city offered early retirement to a wide variety of people, and several police officers did take early retirement. Several others have also been impacted by PTSD and are out on leave. So we are short police officers right now, and this recruit class will hopefully help fill in that gap. There's also been a lot of talk about, to some degree, about bailing out Minneapolis. And so I just want to, for the record, say that the businesses in Minneapolis, and the most recent data that I found on the DOR website was in 2018. So businesses in Minneapolis collected about $712 million in sales and use tax. $712 million. Certified LGA for the entire state in 2018 was $534 million. Minneapolis gets about $77 million in LGA. That is more than others based on the population. Minneapolis has about 100,000 more residents than the next city. So just based on that population and the number of jobs that we have in Minneapolis, we do get a large number, but we are not the most per capita. We are not even at 178 per capita. We are not anywhere near we're below the middle. Senator Weber, who's the author of the bill, his community of Worthington gets 332.92 cents per capita. And there are several other communities that get up to the 600, 700 per capita. So Minneapolis per capita is quite low compared to several other communities. But when you're talking about mutual aid and you're talking about local government, it is all to help local government and to help our communities, to help our constituents. Mutual aid allows our local governments to be efficient. They don't have to buy additional purchases, or they don't have to have enough firefighters on hand to fight a fire in like the weather we have today. So instead of having 20 firefighters, they maybe only have to have 10 because they know they can call in other communities. Mutual aid saves money.
This is not a bill to punish Minneapolis. Nowhere in this bill does it mention Minneapolis. This is a bill that gives local governments the ability to collect from another local government and an additional tool to be able to do it. That's all it is. If one municipality receives mutual aid and the bills have been requested and they go unpaid, they have an option to collect. That's what this bill does.
This is a pay your bills bill. That's all it is. It's not specific to Minneapolis. It's pay your bills bill. If you enter into a written agreement with another city and you don't follow through with that agreement, if it involves remuneration, then you're going to come to the state of Minnesota and they're going to fix it for you. That is absolutely all this bill is.
It was stated at one point that this was a solution in search of a problem. But I would remind everyone that the problem was brought to us by the governor. The governor talked to leadership and said that it was a problem that they were having trouble getting the mutual aid agreements to be re-signed because there were communities that were concerned about whether or not they would be paid. So I guess there is a problem, and this, quite frankly, is a solution. We've had a lot of discussion today about local government aid, and again, I wish to repeat that this bill does not change the formula in any way, shape, or form.
You are correct when you say, I heard you say, we're not going to bail out Minneapolis. I think that's correct. But I think if I want to nuance that a little bit more clearly, what I hear from people is not so much about bailing out Minneapolis, but not bailing out the city leadership of Minneapolis. I think people care about all the small businesses that were damaged in the riots, 1,500 of them damaged or destroyed. I think people care about the residents that had to protect themselves by their own weapons, by their own gathering of groups against the marauders that were destroying everything. I think people across the state care deeply about those folks. But they are very, very frustrated with the city of Minneapolis, the leadership, that over and over and over talked about defunding the police. And worse than that, on a regular basis spoke terribly about them. So if you think about why they weren't having a hard time signing those mutual aid agreements, it wasn't really just first and foremost about the money and will they get paid, these other communities, these other police groups. Why weren't they signing the mutual aid agreements? Well, it's because they were so ill-treated during those riots, not just by the rioters and the protesters, but by the city of Minneapolis, the leadership.
There being 35 ayes and 32 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to.
To continue following these issues and more, watch legislative coverage Monday through Friday on the PBS Minnesota channel or visit our website, www.senate.mn/media.